In the rain-swept, neon-drenched streets of New Meridian, a panorama of colors shimmered on the slick pavement. Ryder Hayes, a 15-year-old, hunched against the downpour, his worn dark hood pulled low over his disheveled chestnut hair. His sharp gray eyes meticulously scanned the alleyways for forgotten scraps, recyclables, or perhaps a jacket superior to his threadbare one. Life on the streets of this interspecies border colony was a grueling existence for a human adolescent, especially one devoid of family, wealth, or connections. Yet, Ryder had forged his survival for 3 years since the dreadful transport accident that claimed his parents and left him marooned on this alien-dominated world. As he prepared to move on, a soft whimper arrested his attention, emanating from behind a stack of empty crates. He approached cautiously, his hand instinctively fumbling for the small utility knife in his pocket. In this district, even pleas for help often mask sinister traps. "Hello," he called out softly. "Is anyone there?" The whimpering ceased, replaced by a trembling, feminine voice. "Please, don't hurt me." Ryder shoved the crates aside, his movements freezing. Huddled against the grimy wall was a girl unlike any he had ever seen. Her skin possessed a smooth, pale blue luminescence, faintly glowing even in the dim light. Long, silver hair fell in tangled cascades around her delicate face. But it was her eyes that truly captivated him, veiled by a milky white haze, signaling her blindness. She wore a once elegant lilac dress, now torn and mud-splattered at the hem, her bare feet scuffed and soiled. "I won't hurt you," Ryder reassured her, his voice softening. "Are you all right? Do you need help finding your way home?" At the mention of home, the girl flinched. "No, I can't go back there. Please don't make me." Ryder knelt, maintaining a respectful distance. "Hey, it's okay. I won't make you do anything you don't want to. I'm Ryder." "What's your name?" "Letha," she whispered. "Letha Nero." "You're Cyrillan, aren't you?" he inquired, recognizing her species by her distinctive blue skin. The Cyrillans were a prominent alien race in New Meridian, renowned for their advanced technology and rigid social order. She nodded, then winced as she shifted. "I'm injured. I fell while I was running away." Ryder hesitated. He barely managed to feed himself, let alone assist someone else, but her raw vulnerability resonated with him. Perhaps it was his own familiarity with loneliness and fear. "There's a healer nearby, an old Cyrillan woman named Tolia. She sometimes helps street kids when they're sick. I can take you there." "You would do that for me?" Letha's voice registered genuine surprise. "Of course. Can you walk?" She attempted to stand, but gasped in pain. "My ankle?" Without a second thought, Ryder turned and crouched, his back to her. "Climb on, I'll carry you." After a moment of hesitation, Letha wrapped her arms around his neck. Ryder lifted her, surprised by her lightness. Her skin felt cool against his, and she carried a subtle, exotic fragrance, like unknown flowers. "Thank you," she whispered, her breath warm against his ear. As they emerged from the alley, Ryder felt a sudden tension. "What is it?" he murmured. "Nothing," she replied quickly. "Just please, hurry." Ryder nodded, quickening his pace despite the added weight. He couldn't shake the unsettling feeling of being watched as they navigated the rain-slicked streets toward the healer's shop in the colony's older district. Little did he know, this seemingly simple act of kindness was poised to irrevocably alter the course of his life. The girl on his back was no ordinary Cyrillan, and those searching for her would stop at nothing to retrieve her, regardless of who stood in their path. As Ryder neared the healer's modest shop in the older district, a sense of dread washed over him. 4 burly Cyrillan males in sleek black uniforms stood guard outside the entrance, their stances rigid and attentive. Each wore an earpiece and had a disruptor holstered at their hip, high-end weaponry exclusively possessed by law enforcement or elite private security. "Damn," Ryder muttered under his breath. "We've got company." Letha's arms tightened around his neck. "What is it? Who's there?" Her voice quivered with fear. 4 guys in fancy uniforms. They looked like security. He ducked into a narrow space between buildings, gently setting Letha down against the wall. "They're my father's men," she whispered, confirming his unspoken suspicions. Ryder cautiously peered around the corner again. "Your father must be pretty important to have goons like that." Letha's face fell. "You could say that. My father is Marius Nero. The name struck Ryder like a physical blow. Everyone in New Meridian knew that name. Marius Nero controlled the colony's black market, protection rackets, and smuggling operations. His criminal empire spanned 3 star systems. Holy, Ryder breathed. You're a crime boss's daughter. I'm sorry I didn't tell you, Letha said, her hand reaching out to find and squeeze his arm. Would you have helped me if you'd known? Ryder considered this. Most sensible individuals steered clear of Nero and his illicit dealings. Entangling with his family was tantamount to suicide. Probably, he admitted. You needed help. That doesn't change just because your dad's a psychopath. A faint smile touched her lips. You're different from most people. Yeah, well, being homeless gives you a different perspective. He glanced back at the guards. We need another way in. There has to be a back entrance. They circumnavigated the buildings through service alleys until they reached the rear of the healer's shop. A small door stood ajar, light spilling out into the dark alley. Ryder helped Letha inside, finding themselves in a cluttered storeroom filled with jars of peculiar substances and dried plants suspended from the ceiling. An elderly Cerulean woman appeared in the doorway, her dark blue skin deeply wrinkled with age, her silver hair pulled back in a severe bun. Her eyes widened at the sight of Letha. By the celestial moons, she gasped, swiftly closing the door behind them. Young Nero, what are you doing here? Please, healer Talia, Letha pleaded. I need your help. I've hurt my ankle, and I can't go home. The old woman's eyes darted nervously toward the front of the shop. Your father's men are outside. They've been searching for you since nightfall. I know, but I can't go back. Not this time. Healer Talia sighed heavily, then gestured toward a padded table. Sit. Let me examine that ankle. As Letha settled onto the table, the healer turned her penetrating gaze toward Ryder. And who might you be, human boy? I'm Ryder. I found her in an alley and brought her here. Do you have any idea what you've done? The healer's voice was low and urgent as she gathered her supplies. Marius Nero is not a man who forgives those who interfere with his family. If he discovers you helped his daughter escape... I didn't know who she was, Ryder protested. That won't matter to him. Talia began applying a cool, sweet-smelling salve to Letha's ankle. The moment you touched his daughter, you signed your death warrant. Letha reached out, finding Ryder's hand and squeezing it. I won't let my father hurt him. This is my fault. The healer snorted. And how will you stop Marius? Your blind child. Powerful in your own way, yes. But your father has never let you develop those gifts. Ryder looked between them, bewildered. Gifts? What gifts? Talia gave Letha a surprised glance. You haven't told him? Well, it's not my place. She wrapped a bandage around Letha's ankle. This should heal by morning. The question is, what do we do with you both now? A commotion from the front of the shop made them all freeze, male voices, demanding and impatient. They're searching the premises, Talia whispered. You need to hide now. She led them to a small trapdoor concealed beneath a rug. My cellar. It's not much, but it will keep you hidden until they leave. As they descended the ladder into the darkness below, Talia gripped Ryder's arm. Listen to me, human. You've stumbled into something dangerous. Cerulean politics and crime are not like human affairs, but there's something about you. She studied his face. Perhaps it's no accident you found her. Humans have always been unpredictable. Your kind changes things wherever you go. Before Ryder could respond, she closed the trapdoor, leaving them in darkness with only the sound of heavy footsteps overhead. The cellar was cramped and musty, illuminated solely by a single bioluminescent fungus glowing in the corner. Ryder could barely discern Letha's silhouette as they huddled together, listening to the heavy footsteps above. They're searching methodically, Ryder whispered, room by room. Letha nodded, her face taut. My father trains his security forces thoroughly. They won't leave until they've checked everything. A loud crash from above made both of them jump. The sound of breaking glass and Talia's protests filtered down to them. They're destroying her shop, Letha said, her voice tight with guilt. This is all my fault. Ryder squeezed her hand. No, it's your father's fault. There's a difference between taking responsibility and taking blame. The trapdoor suddenly flew open, flooding the cellar with harsh light. A large Cerulean male peered down at them, his blue face splitting into a triumphant grin. "Found them!" he shouted over his shoulder. "The boss's daughter and some human trash." Ryder didn't hesitate. As the guard began to descend the ladder, he grabbed one of the rungs and yanked hard. The ladder came loose, sending the guard tumbling down with a surprised yelp. Ryder was on him in an instant, delivering a sharp blow to the alien's throat that left him gasping. "Stay behind me," Ryder told Letha as he snatched the guard's disruptor. The weapon felt strange in his hands, heavier than it looked with an odd balance. From the aperture above, 2 additional guards emerged. Ryder discharged his weapon, missing wildly as the unexpected recoil caused him to flinch. The guards quickly retreated, yelling for reinforcements. "We need to depart," Ryder urged, assisting Letha to her feet. "Is there an alternative exit from this place?" "I am unaware," she responded, her sightless eyes wide with apprehension. Ryder surveyed the cellar walls and noticed a small grate near the floor. There, either a ventilation shaft or drainage. Regardless, it's our sole recourse. He kicked at the grate until it yielded, exposing a narrow passage. "You proceed first. I'll be directly behind you." As Letha squeezed into the opening, the guards initiated firing into the cellar. Ryder experienced a searing sensation as a disruptor beam grazed his shoulder. Pain flared, but instead of incapacitating him, it ignited a primal response. An adrenaline surge inundated his system, sharpening his perceptions. Time appeared to decelerate. He could discern the trajectory of each energy beam, anticipating the source of the subsequent shot. With a precision that astonished even himself, Ryder retaliated, striking one guard's hand and another's leg. "What are you awaiting?" a voice bellowed from above. "It's merely a single human boy." "He is swift," came the pained rejoinder. "Exceedingly swift." Ryder retreated toward the tunnel, firing controlled bursts that kept the guards at bay. Once inside, he repositioned the grate behind him and crawled after Letha. The tunnel was confined, compelling them to navigate on hands and knees through inches of stagnant water. Ryder could hear Letha's breathing ahead of him, steady despite their predicament. "Are you all right?" he softly inquired. "Yes," she affirmed. "But you are injured. I can detect the scent of your blood." Ryder touched his shoulder, wincing. "Just a superficial wound. I'll be fine." "You fought admirably," Letha remarked, her voice imbued with awe. "I have never heard of a human resisting Cerulean security forces previously." "Indeed, street life instills quickness," Ryder mused. Yet, even as he spoke, Ryder realized this was unprecedented. He had never moved with such fluidity, never experienced that peculiar clarity in combat. It was as though his body instinctively knew what to do without conscious thought. They emerged from the tunnel into what appeared to be a public sanitation conduit. Ryder helped Letha to her feet, then inspected his pilfered disruptor. The charge indicator revealed it was nearly depleted. "Splendid," he muttered. 3 shots remaining, perhaps 4. "I detect water," Letha stated, tilting her head. "A considerable volume. We must be near the colony's primary drainage system." Ryder nodded, impressed by her spatial awareness despite her blindness. "Which implies we can follow it to the outskirts, away from your father's dominion." A shout reverberated through the tunnel behind them. The guards had discovered their escape route. "They are tenacious," Ryder remarked, taking Letha's hand. "Come, we must accelerate." As they hastened along the drainage channel, Ryder found himself pondering the gravity of his situation. Merely 24 hours prior, he had been an ordinary homeless youth striving for survival. Now, he was eloping with a crime lord's daughter, unearthing previously unknown capabilities. One certainty remained: his life would be irrevocably altered. They had traversed nearly half a kilometer through the drainage system when Ryder sensed something amiss. The tunnel ahead was unnervingly silent. The ambient sounds of flowing water had abruptly diminished. "Wait," he whispered, bringing Letha to a halt. "I believe—" Before he could complete his thought, brilliant lights inundated the tunnel from both directions. Silhouetted against the glare stood at least a dozen armed Ceruleans, their disruptors aimed directly at the pair. "End of the line," a deep voice intoned. "Surrender the weapon and comply peacefully." Ryder instantly assessed their options. His stolen disruptor likely had only 3 shots remaining. The multitude of guards, strategically positioned, rendered resistance suicidal. Ryder, Letha whispered, her hand finding his arm. "I apologize for involving you in this." He squeezed her hand. "Do not be. I made my decision." Slowly, Ryder placed the disruptor on the ground and nudged it toward the guards. "We surrender." The guards advanced swiftly, securing Ryder's hands behind his back with energy cuffs that hummed against his skin. One guard approached Letha with greater caution, as if apprehensive of touching her. "The boss desires both of them unharmed," the lead guard barked, especially the human. This surprised Ryder. He had anticipated rough treatment, perhaps even immediate execution. Instead, they were escorted through the tunnels to a service elevator that ascended into what must have been one of the colony's more affluent districts. When the doors opened, Ryder found himself in an opulent foyer with marble floors and towering ceilings. The air hung heavy with the scent of exotic spices and costly cologne. Guards lined the walls, standing at rigid attention. They were led through a series of hallways until they reached a pair of ornate double doors. The lead guard pressed his palm to a scanner, and the doors slid open silently. Inside lay the most lavish office Ryder had ever witnessed. The walls were adorned with genuine books, a rarity in a digital era, and the furniture appeared to be crafted from actual timber rather than synthetic materials. Behind a massive desk sat a Cerulean male whose presence commanded the room. Marius Nero was older than Ryder had expected, his blue skin deepening to an almost navy hue with age. His silver hair was cut short and precise, and his eyes, unlike his daughter's, were keen and calculating. He wore a tailored suit of some shimmering material that seemed to simultaneously absorb and reflect light. "Father," Letha uttered, her voice steady despite her evident fear. "Daughter," Neuros replied coolly. "I see you've acquired a new companion." His gaze shifted to Ryder, scrutinizing him with clinical detachment. "A human? How unforeseen." One of the guards shoved Ryder forward. "We discovered them in the drainage tunnel, sir. The human put up quite a struggle at the healer's shop. He injured 2 of our men." This appeared to pique Neuros's interest. "Did he now?" He leaned forward, steepling his fingers. "What is your designation, boy?" "Ryder Hayes." "Well, Ryder Hayes, are you aware of my identity?" "Yes, sir. You are Marius Nero." A faint smile graced the crime lord's face. "And yet, knowing that, you still aided my daughter's escape. You are either exceptionally courageous or exceptionally foolish. Perhaps both." Ryder remained silent, meeting the alien's gaze without flinching. "Release his restraints," Neuros commanded abruptly. The lead guard appeared startled. "Sir, you heard me. I do not engage in conversations with prisoners. I converse with guests or corpses. For the present, let us treat him as the former." The energy cuffs deactivated with a soft click. Ryder rubbed his wrists, observing Neuros warily. "Letha, approach," Neuros commanded. His daughter advanced with practiced obedience, though Ryder noticed her hands trembling slightly. "Why did you abscond?" Neuros inquired, his tone deceptively gentle. "You are aware, father. The arrangement with Consul Trick. I refuse to be bartered like property." Neuros sighed. "It is a political alliance, not a transaction. Trick controls the Eastern District. With his support, our family's influence would encompass the entire colony." "He is 3 times my age, and has already interred 2 wives, Letha retorted. "I would rather perish than be bound to him." The crime lord's expression hardened. "That can be arranged." "If you harm her," Ryder interjected, "you will have to eliminate me first." The room fell silent. The guards tensed, their hands moving to their weapons. But to everyone's astonishment, Neuros laughed, a genuine amused sound. "By the stars, you humans continually surprise me. Such audacity from a species so physically inferior to most galactic races." He regarded Ryder with renewed interest. "And yet, here you stand, threatening me in my own office after fending off my elite guards. Perhaps there is more to your kind than meets the eye." Neuros rose from his desk and circled to stand directly before Ryder. Despite being shorter than the human, his presence was formidable. "I am going to extend an offer to you, Ryder Hayes, one that will either preserve your life or end it, contingent on your response." "Father," Letha began, but Neuros silenced her with a raised hand. "The boy fought for you, daughter. Let us ascertain if he is willing to do more." He turned back to Ryder. You have two alternatives: execution for meddling in my family's affairs, or service within my organization under my direct oversight. Ryder's mind raced. Neither option was appealing, but one at least promised survival and proximity to Letha. What manner of service? He cautiously inquired. Nero smiled, revealing teeth that seemed slightly too sharp. That is the pertinent question. I require someone with your distinct capabilities, someone who can navigate human circles where my people cannot, someone who has already demonstrated loyalty and valor, and if I refuse, then you die tonight, and my daughter weds the consul as planned. Ryder glanced at Letha, whose blind eyes were wide with fear. Not for herself, he realized, but for him. I will serve, Ryder finally stated. But I have one stipulation. The guards murmured in disbelief at his temerity. Neuros raised an eyebrow. You are not in a position to negotiate, human. My condition is that Letha remains free from any unwelcome arrangements, no forced marriages, ever. For a long moment, Neuros stared at him, his expression inscrutable. Then he nodded once. Agreed. Welcome to the family, Ryder Hayes. 5 years later, the Crimson Nebula was the quintessential establishment where deals were forged, secrets were exchanged, and lives were occasionally extinguished. Tonight, it buzzed with its customary melange of alien species. Ceruleans, Vogs, Tarts, and a scattering of humans, all engaged in drinking, gambling, and feigning indifference to the armed guards strategically positioned throughout the club. At the bar, a human male in his early 20s nursed a glass of amber liquid. His chestnut hair was now cropped short and neat. His once lanky frame had filled out with lean muscle. The worn-out hoodie and faded jeans had been replaced by a sleek, custom-tailored black suit that whispered of opulence and impending peril. Only his piercing gray eyes remained unchanged, now weighted with the lessons of hard-won experience. Ryder Hayes was no longer a homeless teenager. He had become Marius Nero's right-hand man, his enforcer, his diplomat, his living weapon. Mr. Hayes, the bartender, a nervous veau with an unusually long arm, stammered as he slid another drink across the polished surface. A compliment from the gentleman in the corner booth. Ryder's gaze flickered to the indicated booth, where a corpulent Taurian merchant sat amidst a circle of bodyguards. The alien raised his glass in a gesture of salute, his four eyes blinking in a synchronized pattern, a profound sign of respect in Taurian culture. With a subtle nod of acknowledgement, Ryder accepted the drink but left it untouched. 5 years within Neros' organization had instilled in him an unwavering caution above all else. His comm unit vibrated against his wrist. A text message scrolled across the small display. Meeting concluded. Return to base. -ELA. Just seeing her initials sparked a warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with alcohol. Ryder deposited credits on the bar and made his exit, offering a brief nod to Neros' guards as he passed. Outside, his sleek hovercar awaited, its engine purring to life as he approached. The Neros compound, a fortress cleverly disguised as a mansion, sat atop a cliff overlooking the colony. As Ryder navigated through the security checkpoints, guards saluted him with a deference that, even after all these years, still felt disarmingly strange. He found Letha in the garden, her sanctuary within the compound. At 20, she had blossomed into a woman of breathtaking beauty. Her once pale blue skin had deepened to a rich azure, and her silver hair, now cascading to her waist, shimmered in the moonlight like liquid mercury. She wore a simple white dress that starkly contrasted with her radiant complexion. Though still blind, she turned precisely as he approached, a luminous smile gracing her features. "I sensed you coming," she said, her voice a soft melody. "Your footsteps are unmistakable." "You're getting better at that," Ryder responded, taking her outstretched hand. Over the years, Letha's latent abilities had begun to manifest, despite her father's attempts to suppress them. She could sense presences, sometimes emotions, and on rare occasions, even fleeting glimpses of the future abilities that made her both invaluable and incredibly vulnerable in their dangerous world. "Father's meeting with the Syndicate went well," she continued, her fingers intimately intertwining with his. "The Vo have agreed to our terms for the shipping routes." "Good. That should ease tensions in the Eastern District." They walked together through the garden, a well-rehearsed routine that allowed them to speak freely, far from the compound's pervasive surveillance systems. 5 years of meticulous planning had taught them precisely where the blind spots lay. "Any progress with healer Talia?" Ryder asked quietly, his voice barely a whisper. "She secured passage on a transport leaving for the Outer Rim next week. 3 seats." Ryder squeezed her hand, a surge of hope intertwining with anxiety. Their escape plan was nearing completion. 5 years of building trust, of making himself indispensable to Nero's, all while secretly orchestrating their departure. It had been a perilous game, complicated further by the undeniable feelings that had blossomed between them. What began as a fierce protective instinct on Ryder's part had deepened into something profound, and for Letha, the steadfast human who had carried her to safety in her most vulnerable moments, had become the very center of her universe. "We should celebrate," Letha suggested, a playful smile touching her lips. "Father is meeting with Consul Kick tonight. We have the East Wing to ourselves." The implication in her voice sent a jolt of heat through Ryder's body. Their relationship had evolved in secret, stolen moments of intimacy carefully concealed from Nero's and his watchful eyes. "Are you sure?" he asked, gently brushing a strand of silver hair from her face. "I've never been more certain of anything," she replied, her unseeing eyes somehow finding his with unerring accuracy. Later, in the privacy of Letha's chambers, their bodies found each other with the familiar grace of longtime lovers. Human and sarin physiology, they had discovered to their equal surprise and delight over the years, were remarkably compatible. In the aftermath, as they lay entwined in the soft, dim light, Letha traced the scars etched across Ryder's chest souvenirs from 5 years of service to her father. "I hate what he's made you do," she whispered, her voice laced with sorrow. "I made my choices," Ryder replied, pressing a tender kiss to her forehead. "And I'd make them again to be here with you. 1 more week," she breathed, her hope palpable. "Then we're free." But freedom in their world was a fragile promise, never guaranteed. As if summoned by their whispered plans, Ryder's comm unit chimed with an urgent alert. "Hayes, report to the main office immediately. The boss has a situation." Ryder sighed, reluctantly disentangling himself from Letha's embrace. "Duty calls?" "Be careful," she said, catching his hand. "I sense something's different tonight. A shift in the currents?" He kissed her once more, deeply. 1 more week, he promised. Then no more midnight summons, no more dangerous missions. As he dressed and prepared to face whatever crisis Nero's had summoned him for, Ryder couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that Letha's premonition was correct. Something had indeed shifted. The very air felt charged, like the unnerving calm before an unforgiving storm. Little did he know that the mission awaiting him would irrevocably alter everything they had meticulously planned. Ryder found Marius Nero in his private armory, meticulously inspecting an ornate disruptor pistol. The crime lord had aged noticeably over the past 5 years. His once vibrant navy skin now bore a grayish tinge, and the lines around his eyes had deepened. Yet, he still carried himself with the same imperious confidence that had solidified his reputation as the most feared man in the colony. "Hayes," Neros acknowledged without looking up. "Good. We leave in 20 minutes. "Sir." Ryder maintained the respectful tone he always used in Nero's presence, regardless of his true feelings toward the man. "The 5 families are meeting tonight at the Obsidian Palace. All the major syndicates will be there." Neros finally looked up, his eyes narrowing perceptibly. "I smell my daughter's perfume on you." Ryder's heart momentarily skipped a beat, but his face remained a mask of impassivity. "I spoke with her in the garden before coming here. She mentioned the Vaux negotiations went well." Nero studied him for a long moment, then seemingly accepted the explanation. "Yes, which is precisely why tonight's summit is so critical. With the Vaux aligned with us, we're positioned to dominate the sector's shipping routes. The other families won't be pleased." "You expect trouble," Ryder observed, a statement rather than a question. "I always expect trouble." Neros handed him the disruptor. "This is for you. Sarin craftsmanship modified for a human grip. Consider it a gift